Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by the great philanthropist and founder of the Dr. Atlas Foundation, the legend Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
How you doing? I know, how you can tell when somebody lives, for all the people out there that don't know yet, that Ken lives in basically a palace, is that just before we went on the air, he said, hold on 1 second, guys. I just have to shut this door so my family doesn't just walk in later on. And it took him about 10 minutes to come back from closing the door. That's how large and spacious a palace is. I mean, we take it for granted. I got to shut a door. Boom, boom. The door's right there. It's a couple feet away. But when you're in a palace, that could be a 10-minute walk.
The crazy thing is the people believe all this stuff. When they see me in the street, they're like, "Where's all your Ferraris?" I'm like, "You've been listening
I can't
to the
have
show
them all
too
out.
much."
Your answer got to be, what do you think? I'm going to bring them all out in one time? I'm one person. Come on. They're in the, where do you think they are? They're in the garage next to the hangar, which is housing the jet.
You're too kind. Hey, how was the bowling event? I heard you were throwing strike after strike this weekend at the Dr. Atlas Foundation bowling event.
Yeah, I was keeping score for people, so I was throwing strikes on the paper, but not on the wood. I did not bowl. I just went and said hello to everybody, thanked everybody for being there. It was a great event. It was sold out. Sponsors, all the people made it very successful so we can continue doing what we do, which is help people in need. It was everyone had fun. There were families there, kids there, laughing, enjoying it. There were a lot of gutter balls, but that's in my little speech before it started, that's how I finished. Actually, what I said, enjoy this magical day with your friends and your family, because today you cannot throw a gutter ball. Because every ball counts. It helps us help other people and make their life a little better. So it was a good day. Thank you for asking.
Oh, good for you. I participated in a running event yesterday in Rome, Georgia, at my friend Jesse Itzler's house, and he's a very charitable guy. They actually made a donation to the Dr. Atlas Foundation last year at the race they do in the summer called Hell on the Hill. So I did a race at his house in Rome, Georgia called Highway to Hell. It was 14-mile race up and down his driveway 13 times, and super steep, 3,000 feet of elevation gain, and there was just a bunch of good people there, and a big portion of the proceeds went to different charities that him and his wife Sarah Blakely, who created the brand Spanx and just sold it for $1.2 billion to Blackstone, they donate a huge portion to different charities. So I imagine there'll be another check coming to the Dr. Atlas Foundation from them as well.
Thank you. That's great. That's great seeing people help other people and use their good position in life to help other people that don't have as good a position. That's beautiful. And I guess if you sell a company for 1 point something billion, you do have a driveway that's 3,000 feet tall and altitude whatever.
It was 200 and change from the bottom to the top, but you had to run up and down it 13 times. But that's what's the most impressive thing about these people. I was telling Jesse, if I had $1 billion, there'd be a barbed wire fence around my house and I'd never leave. But he invites 285 people to his house to camp out and race up and down his driveway. He's just a good person, and excellent event.
By the
for
way,
a good
people,
cause.
Ken has $500 million, and he has barbed wire fence around his house.
And speaking of the response we got, I mentioned that someone was being a jerk in the comments. The amount of supportive and kind messages I got this week in the DMs and on Twitter was just overwhelming, man. Thank you to all the fans. Love all you guys. I responded to everything. Love engaging with all the fans. The other reason we do this, I think people sometimes are like, oh, I'm surprised you responded. I'm like, why wouldn't I respond to people that are nice to me and support what I'm trying to do? Of course we would. Really appreciate everyone, all the kind words. Teddy, let's get into it. We got a bunch of good action to talk about this weekend. I feel like we're at we're in the prime, almost like we're in the playoffs of fight season. Every weekend seems to be delivering big action, and a great boxing match this weekend in the main event. But before we get into the Charlo unifying the 154 division, let's talk about the on the undercard, hot young prospect Boots Ennis gets the second round knockout over Custio Clayton. Man, Boots Ennis looks like the real deal to me, but let's hear what the expert has to say. How'd you like him?
Well, first of all, just to piggyback off a little something you mentioned about hot action and everything else, it's been hot action, you're right, and it's been hot action for this podcast. 400,000 views last week with the stuff that we put out there. We're over 200. We just hit 252,000 subscribers. I just want to say thank you. We don't take it for granted. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your belief, your trust in us to tell you the things that you want to hear or you need to hear or you don't hear somewhere else. Thank you. It makes all this work. It's not work when you're doing something you love. I get it. I understand. But it makes what we're doing worthwhile. I know Ken feels the same way, so thank you.
Yes, and if you're watching on YouTube in particular, just do us a favor, hit the subscribe button. We don't send spam. We're not going to hit you with nonsense. You'll just get a notification when there's a new show out every day, typically on Tuesday. So if you're watching and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It helps us a great deal.
So as far as the Ennis fight, here's my feeling on this. First of all, what's striking, besides his talent, because his talent is striking. When you see it, it's like... matter of fact, I'd stay on the talent for a second because it's so striking that I don't feel that we've seen the most of it or the best of it because I don't think that he's been close to being tested yet. So that's really striking that he's got so much talent that we don't see. It's kind of like I talk about the car, you want to see what's under the hood. You want to see what's under the hood in a fighter, what's inside. Outside, tremendous. What's inside? We don't get close to really seeing that. I think what's outside is also inside with Ennis, if I had to guess. But you don't know till you know. And, it's just his talent is at such a different level than everybody else that the guys they're fighting, they can't find anybody so far. And listen, they're picked guys. I get it. It's part of, when you have a star and you have a promoter who's a big promoter, you take care of them, where other guys don't get taken care of quite to that point. But no matter who they bring in, it doesn't get a heart rate up with Ennis. And the other thing that struck me is his size, Ken. Not since Tommy Hearns hit the scene at 147 have I seen a welterweight that looks so much bigger than everyone else. I wonder if some of it, people are going to laugh when I say this, but I'm saying it for a reason. Some of it's physical, but I think some of it is psychological because he's so damn good he looks bigger. So he's big, but when you have a monster in front of you, the monster looks even bigger. I remember Castano, my mentor used to tell me when Floyd Patterson was coming up, and he was just a middleweight, he won the heavyweight championship of the world. And look, the fighters were smaller back then. He won the heavyweight championship at about 184 pounds for Floyd Patterson. And they were all smaller. Marciano was smaller. Everybody was. Joe Frazier was smaller compared, to what's around today, and on and on and on. But when Floyd was coming, there's a lot of things that happen when you're developing. You're getting confidence. You're finding out about yourself. You're answering questions about yourself. You're filling in spots about yourself. It's kind of like you've been sketched out. The way I look at a fighter, developing a fighter from my perspective, I got to sketch it out, and then I got to help him color it in. And that's when that process starts taking place, and you start coloring it in with the development of fighters, confidence, his belief, everything to go with his skill levels and his technique development. Floyd Patterson used to tell Cus when he got in the ring, these guys look so big. And they were big. I mean, he was a small heavyweight. And then Cus told me, he said, Teddy, there came a day when I knew we were ready to fight for the world title. And I said, what was that day? what told you you were ready? And he said, we got in the ring, and he turned to me with another opponent that was, pretty comparable to the other guys that we've been fighting as far as size and everything. And he turned to me and said, this guy looks so small. And once the guy started looking smaller to Floyd instead of bigger, Cus knew he was ready. And I kind of felt the same thing when I watched the fight the other night with Ennis. Like, he must look at these guys like midgets. Like they're all so small because he's physically big and he's big in every other area as far as confidence, belief, accomplishment, and obviously talent. So that's the first thing, how big he is. Wow. And the other thing, it's funny, I touched on it in the opening here, and I'll go a little further. When these guys have, the super promoters, the powers in the business, there's certain kings in this business, it's whether it's Aaron Mahern, Heyman, a little bit of Warren, Oscar, he's hanging on by a thread. But
you're too kind there, barely hanging on.
So we won't revisit the movie scene from Jerry Maguire. Hey, I love it. You're hanging on there. You're hanging on, Jerry. You're hanging on. So these guys have the benefit, the privilege, quite frankly, of being with top guys where while they're coming up and they're fishing for their opponent, they're doing fishing. That's the analogy I'm going to use. They're fishing, Ken. They're fishing in their own private ponds. They own their own private ponds, and they stock those ponds with fish, and they go fishing. And that's you're gonna get a certain size of a fish because you're the one. It's a pond. You're the one who's stocking it. And you're only going to get a certain size most of the time. And then I go back to the 80s. To me, that was the last real heyday of boxing. One of the last, really. And you had these special fighters that come along once in a lifetime sometimes. And you have these special fighters, whether it's Duran and Whitaker and Benitez and Hearns and Leonard and Hagler. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And you have all these, and they're all fighting each other. They were fishing in the ocean. See, that was the difference. Back in those days, those guys, they all fished in the ocean. Nowadays, if you're with the guy, one of the power guys, you fish in a pond. Every once in a while, kind of like Castano, we'll get to that. One of the fish in the pond eats a lot and gets big. Every once in a while, you get that really big catfish, that really big carp, whatever it is in your pond. Maybe they were eating turtles. I don't know. They were eating the frogs up. I don't know. But you get a bigger one. But on the most part, you could go fishing in your pond with a bamboo pole. You remember those bamboo poles, all they had was a line and a little thing, and you put a worm on it and you dropped it. It was made out of bamboo. It was for the kids. That's how you started out. But then when you go in the ocean, you need a real rod. And you go in the ocean, you go marlin fishing, baby. And that's what I want to see in boxing. I want to see marlin fishing. I want to go back to marlin fishing. Where you remember on those shows where the outdoor shows, what they would show, on the weekends on ABC Sports, whatever, they would have those I forget the name of them, but, sportsman shows where you'd have a guy out in a deep blue sea.
Like Jimmy Houston?
Yeah, Jimmy
Houston, like the different fishing shows.
Yeah, be out. Yeah, but this one was it was a bigger show. It was like on network TV, and it was like once a week during a certain season, and you'd have the guy out there fishing for the mall. They'd strap him in. They give him some water. You know what I mean? They give him some water. They would pat him down. They strap him, and you'd see the pole bend. I mean, bend. And every once in a while, they lose one. They lose one, or they may break the pole. Yeah. You don't get that in the ponds, really. We got a little bit of that the other night, though. And the bamboo pole broke back. But Charlo, to his credit, he had a backup pole. He had a backup because he had heard there was some big fish in that pond. He had heard somebody saw them, kind of like the Loch Ness Monster, Somebody had seen a big one. They couldn't get it, but they seen it. He'd been warned because it was, he saw Castano the fight before. So he was warned. He knew it was a big fish in that pond. But usually you don't get that, Ken. You don't get to see, American Sportsman, whatever the show was, where they're fighting that marlin. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of that. And I tell you, Ennis is time to go in the ocean now. I don't want to see him in the ponds no more. I know the guy had a good ride. He was an Olympic. I get it. And it wasn't even he didn't even take a breath. I don't want to see him in the ponds no more, Ken. I want to see him in the ocean. I want to see him with the marlin. I don't know if anyone can make him fight the fight those guys had to fight when they were strapped in the seats and the pole was bending over, almost breaking. I don't know if anyone, but I want to find out. I don't want no more of these guys anymore. All I want to see him with now at this point is Crawford, Spence, or let him move up and fight Munguia at middleweight. Munguia was a junior middleweight, so he moved up. Let him, because Ennis is going to have to move up eventually anyway. I know he didn't get his title, give him his chance, but I don't want to see him in the ponds no more. So as far as the analysis, that's about it of the fight. He knows his identity. He knows he's big, he's long. So he tries to keep the guys at the end of his punches, which he did. He landed a right hand behind the guy's ear. It was funny. The commentators kept saying, it wasn't even his best punch and, all that stuff. And I get it because it didn't splash off his chin. But when you get hit behind the ear, your equilibrium gets screwed up. That's it. I mean, you're drunk. You're drunk. So nobody had mentioned that. He caught him in the right spot or in the wrong spot if you're the guy on the receiving end of it. But I like him. I like him. I want to see him in the ocean. And like I said, and I like his personality, Ken. He's a good kid. He's confident. So he'll boost it a little. That's fine. He's confident. He worked to get that. But he's not obnoxious. He's not obnoxious. Some of these guys, we'll talk about it later. I know you have a little bit of a pet peeve with this, and I'm with you. But some of these guys can get a little obnoxious. But he's not. With all his talent, I know, like I said, he hasn't been fully tested yet. But this kid, I like him. I just like listening to him. He's a kid that you could easily say, yeah, I'm going to support this kid. Yeah, I'm going to be in his camp. Yeah, I'm behind this kid. With everything, yeah, I just enjoy the kid. And like I said, I enjoy the way he presents himself too. He doesn't shove it down your throat. He lets you like him. Does that make sense, Ken? Do you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'll give you some examples of guys who are, or I can give you one example right now of a guy who's incredibly talented and supremely confident, but just doesn't come off like a complete jerk and like a loudmouth is Errol Spence. Yeah, one of the guys from Texas. I love him. And there's a group of them down there, and we'll get into it with the Charlos, and I've said it before. I don't understand why they have to be so like abrasive and thuggish in their behavior. I mean, Jermell is now the unified champ at 154. You're tough. We all know it. You don't have to talk like a gangster every time you get on the microphone. He was humble after the fight, but we'll get into it. Anyway, Boots Ennis, tons of potential, and I'm looking forward to, like you said, enough. When you destroy a guy in the second round like that guy, let's be honestly, Teddy, you know it, that guy's not even qualified to be a sparring partner. I mean, it's not going to help him get better. And I think if most of these fighters, if they had their druthers, they would move right up and start taking bigger, more dangerous fights. And we'll get into this later in the show too, but like Oscar says of Canelo after he loses to Bivol, you're ready to come back to a real promoter. And then he made some comment like, I never would have let him get in with a Bivol. Like, Oscar, your job is to facilitate hard fights. Credit to Canelo for wanting to get up there. He cleaned out the whole damn division. Who do you want to have him fight? A tomato can? Canelo is as good as it gets. He should be fighting the other guys that challenge him, which is exactly what Bivol did. He came up short. I don't think it's a knock on Canelo, but the fact that the promoter is highlighting for you how crazy they are and saying that he would never let that fight happen. So you would never let your good fighters have a fight that you think could be 50-50 or even slightly favored in the other guys in the challenger or in the opposing fighters favor? Like, what the hell are you talking about? If the Four Kings had that attitude, we'd never have some of the best fights in the history of boxing. This is why Oscar's losing fighters hand over fist. He's got to get himself together and stop with this attitude of like protect the fighter at all costs. Canelo makes $30 to $50 million a fight. He doesn't need to be protected anymore. He could get in there and fight a friggin' lion if that's what he wants to do. Nothing's going to change his legacy or his earning potential. He's beloved. Nothing he can do will change it. Okay, if he goes up and fights Usyk at heavyweight and gets knocked out, so what? If that's what he thinks he can do, personally, I think Usyk, after seeing the Bivol fight, it would be crazy to make that fight, but I love the fact that Canelo wants it. But imagine if he's still with Oscar and Oscar's telling him, don't take these dangerous fights, fight someone who's barely got a pulse. Like, dude, come on, Oscar. Anyway, we'll talk about it later.
The only thing that I would respond to that real quick, and we'll get into Oscar a little bit more later. First of all, he needs I said this a year ago, I think, but someone that, if they care about him, they need to get him a puppy. And I said that, I said that a while ago, Ken. Get him a puppy dog. Really, he needs something to love and something to make him feel better. And puppies can do magic. They truly do. You like puppies, right? Yeah. And no, seriously, Ken. And that would be helpful. And listen, to be serious here, the only place you're going, not wrong. Everything you pointed out is on the money, but who says that we believe Oscar what he's saying? Yeah,
that's a good point.
he would put these guys in with forget about it, with King Kong if the money was right. I mean, as long as he's the promoter and he's getting his, his piece. But if
the other guy put a horseshoe in his glove.
Yeah, I mean he'd put him in with whatever monster might be out there if the money was coming on his side. But it's going on someone else's side, like in this case. It's going over to Hearn instead of Golden Boy. Yeah, he's gonna talk that way. Sure. Please, come on. You got a bridge to sell me. You got a better shot with that than tell me that you're worried about his welfare. Please stop, okay? But he, he's almost, and we'll get more to it later, but. To me, he was implying when he said, it was embarrassing, it was, that he's begging. It's sad. That's why I said we got to get him a puppy dog. But he was implying, like, if you were with me, we would have pulled off the caper and we would have went the extra mile and we would have pulled off the robbery that those guys tried to pull off. They didn't get it done. They fell short. We would have pulled it off. We would have robbed. Yep. We would have robbed freaking Beevil's backside. So,
as you can tell by the way I conduct my business, Canelo, I don't care what anyone thinks of me.
So anyway, that's Let's move forward for now.
All right, guys. Want to take a quick pause to give a shout out to another of today's sponsors. Feel Free, the plant-based botanic tonic based on the plant kava root. They put some botanical blend into this tonic, and I wish I was a scientist to give you all the exact reasoning and rationale as to why this stuff gives me a boost of energy. But I will just leave you with the fact that I love this stuff. I take it before races. I take it before key workouts. I actually take it before we record the show. I feel like it just gives me a little boost of energy and a euphoric feeling that is hard to explain unless you've experienced it. Give them a try. Feel free. Use the promo code ATLAS and they'll give you 40% off your first purchase. That's an incredible deal. 40% off using the promo code ATLAS. And you help the show by letting them know that our listeners are actually paying attention to what we're talking about and trying the products that we get behind. I've been using this stuff long before they decided to sponsor the show. I actually reach out to them. My friend Trey Hardy, the great two-time decathlon world champion, put me onto this product and he swears by it. And if it's good enough for the best athlete in the world, it's good enough for me and it might be good enough for you. Give them a try at Feel Free Botanical Tonics. Also want to shout out one of my favorite running brands in the world, Wallaco. Wallaco, Way of Life Athletic Clothing. To me, they make the best running shorts in the world. They've got built-in waterproof pockets, which protects your phone from sweat and the elements, so you can carry your phone while you're running. It's compact and stays tight to your hip. Check out their compression shorts. They're unbelievable. Can't say enough good things about Wallaco and their founder, Terry White, Harvard lacrosse standout and world-class human being. Check out Wallaco and use the promo code ATLAS at checkout for 20% off your purchase. All right, let's get into the Castano Charlo fight. Man, oh man, did this fight deliver. Jeez, what a battle. Through like 6 rounds, I think it was. I said on Twitter, and I know you were tweeting up a storm. You always have the best takes on these things. But I very rarely tweet during fights, but I said, wow, this might be one of the best fights I've seen in a long time. Just constant action. The pressure of Castano and the counter punching of Charlo, the chin on Castano, my God, he ate some shots and just walked right through them until I never even felt like Castano was rattled until he was knocked out. And when he was knocked out, it was that really short left hook and he was on Queer Street. I mean, his legs were completely gone, but he looked there, but his body wasn't cooperating with him. And all credit to both guys. Man, these guys brought the friggin' heat. They were throwing punches. Like I said, the relentless pressure of Castano and the just relentless counterpunching of Charlo. I was dying to see, like, who's going to break first? Who's going to run out of gas first? Or is Castano going to get caught coming forward and that's going to slow him down? Or is Charlo's, like, the constant pressure from Castano going to wear Charlo down? I just loved every minute of it. And then, like I said, Charlo clips him with that left hook and just disconnects his body from his brain, essentially. And Castano, to his credit, he tried to get up and he was just like, it wasn't happening. But I loved every minute of this fight. And credit to Charlo, unifies all the belts at 154. He's got all the 4 of the belts that matter. How'd you like the fight?
All right, let me start with the end. And I think sometimes that works. For me, it works. Start at the end instead of the beginning. The last punch. He took some really great shots and he handled them. And you touched on that. And he handled them. He showed a really good chin. And then he gets knocked out by this one. 2 reasons. And the commentator didn't mention. I was surprised because they said, left hook right on the chin. 2 things to correct. Number 1, not on the chin, on the temple. Reminiscent of Tyson when he knocked out Burbick to consolidate all the belts as a young heavyweight champ of the world, as the sensation that he was, the monster that he was on the scene. And listen, I was calling right now, you look at Ennis and you could start to believe in monster stories. You could. He'll make you believe there's monsters out there. He's a monster. But time always tells us there are no monsters. Tyson, we thought he was a monster. Time told us that there are no Supermen. There's a kryptonite for everybody. and sooner or later they'll be someone out there for Ennis. I just want to see him get in there and show us how great he is, and have a chance to show how great he is. And he wants that too. You can tell, because all the great ones do. But he'll get tested somewhere. He'll pass it maybe.
Regarding Ennis, I didn't realize this, but ESPN has him ranked number 3. He's only behind Crawford and Spence.
Yeah.
He's ahead of everyone else. I mean, I didn't realize he was that high up in the rankings. Good to see him get. But he's also, like you said, he's 29-0. Like, we don't need to see him. No one needs to see him fight anyone that isn't a serious title holder.
100%. So getting back to the Castano fight.
Castano. You keep calling him George Costanza's cousin.
No, I didn't say Costanza.
Castano. Castano.
Yeah, I didn't go to the fancy finishing schools that you went to, but it's okay. I'm gonna try. Thank you. I appreciate you looking
finishing
out.
School. I was at the finishing school with.
I appreciate you looking out.
Me and Mickey Ward at the Billerica House.
Job.
At the Billerica House of Correction.
That's called a job.
That was my finishing school.
J-O-B, job, not school. You on the other side of the bars.
Hell no.
Don't forget that. You on behind them. A big difference.
Everyone there was one lucky break away from being on the other side of the bars there. The guards were worse than the inmates.
But well, don't say that about Mickey, please. I mean, if you want to say that about yourself, but come on, Mickey is a salt of the earth person. Come on, so is everything I thought of you. Don't change my opinion on that, please.
Well, both Mickey and I, both of our brothers were inmates there, so we always joked that, the guards were just the ones that never got caught.
Yeah, Mickey is such an honest kid. I remember. I remember when the movie was made on him, the fighter, and he got all the notoriety he deserved from all those wars that he fought on my air on ESPN. I called a lot of his fights, and he was getting to where he was getting to, and he's so honest, he can't help himself, and those are the kind of people I love. Where somebody asked him after the movie premiere came out. They said, Mickey, is that all true? Everything there with Dickie Eklund, with all that, everything, the craziness. And Mickey says, he says, well, I don't remember him jumping through that many windows. He might have jumped out of a few less windows, but other than that, they had it. They had it pretty good. That's Mickey Ward. But
they're making a number 2, and I was texting him with the other day.
It has to have Gaddy in it, because how can you have a Mickey Ward movie, without Gaddy?
They're gonna make number 2 about the trilogy with the Turagati, and I told him, I said, listen, make this thing authentic. If you need some extras, first of all, Teddy should be calling the fights in the movie, and I can be one of your sparring partners. And he was like, all right, I'm going to talk to the producers and get that done.
Okay, let's move on. So that's beautiful. So listen, Castano, and he gets caught, like I said, not like the commentator said, on the chin of punches that he took all night. He got caught on the temple. It almost, in many ways, it does what getting hit behind the ear does. It really screws you up, your equilibrium. And just look at the Berbick fight when Tyson hit him. And Berbick was a real fighter. He hit him on the temple. Look at what happened. And now, it went even further. He fell forward. He fell backwards. He fell sideways. But the same effect, that it messes you up. And the other reason why that punch was so damn efficient and damaging was he never saw it. Those little punches in there, your eyesight is blinded. You're in close, your gloves up, and your eyesight is blinded. That punch streaks across and hits you on the forehead, the temple, and you don't see it. You don't pick it up. You don't have a chance to pick it up on radar and say, oh, there it is. Let's prepare. Get ready. There's no getting ready. You're gone. It's done. You don't have time to register and button down the hatchets, and get into the bomb shelter. You don't have a chance. So that's the end of the fight, and that's how that happened. what I really liked about, and it's the best Charlo I've seen. And what I liked about it really the most was he showed improvement from the first fight, and from many fights, but from the first one when he fought Castano, and it was a draw, and a lot of people thought that Castano had won, and I like the. Is that one of your rap groups there, Ken? Because I know you're doing some stuff on the side.
I thought I had the ringer off.
I know that's no problem. Because I figured it was one of the groups that you're backing, that you're financing. So anyway, we have fun here. We have fun. If you don't like fun, don't come to our show, because we enjoy each other. We enjoy talking to you guys. We bring you facts. We bring you things that other people don't bring you, but we also have fun doing it. So
that was a group I discovered on Staten Island back in my younger years called Wu-Tang Clan. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
I mean, they're legendary. They're legendary there, kid. So. And I remember Method Man, all those guys. So during the fight, what I enjoyed the most, the intensity of the fight, the back and forth of the fight, it was a great fight. But the thing that really got my attention was how much improvement and adjustments he being Charlo, had made from the previous fight. He didn't just come forward with aggression and power. He boxed, he inspires, used his jab to control range, used his legs to control range, created pockets where he could counterpunch, also pockets where he could just get off first, moving on his legs, pot-shotting a little bit, and then a little bit of fighting in close too. He showed a multitude of ideas, of dimensions. I like ideas. When you have ideas, something good's going to happen. This whole world's about being successful ideas. People that have the best ideas are the most successful. Remember that, young people out there. In the boxing, whatever you're in, ideas. Have good ideas. And he showed good ideas, Charlo. And I just, like I said, I loved the dimensions that he brought. And Castano, as much as I love him, he was one-dimensional. Good dimension. He brought aggression, relentlessness, steadiness. Steady. Not reckless, just steady, all the time. But it was a one dimension. But the thing that he didn't get enough credit for, that I'm going to make sure he gets credit for, and that made the fight so great, wasn't just that he was aggressive, and then he had a great chin, and that he threw a lot of punches, and he kept throwing. That wasn't it. He was timing the punches of Charlo. He got to a place where he got in the pocket, and he knew that Charlo was faster. Timing negates speed in my business, if you understand that, and you know how to do it. He got in, and you got to have the nerve to stand in the pocket, take that risk, and be able to place your shot at the right exact time in between the other guy's shot. In between that millisecond of the other guy throw, bang, bang, you place the shot. That's what he was doing. That's what kept him in the fight. That's what even put him ahead maybe in spots in the fight. Who knows, because Charlo took control later. But that's what made it a competitive fight. That's what made it a great fight. Not just that he was relentless. We got a lot of guys relentless, throwing punches, and they wind up getting, caught, and they're losing rounds. They're fighting like hell, and you appreciate it, but they're losing rounds. He was winning rounds because he was timing the punches, the combinations of Charlo. He was negating the speed advantage of Charlo. That's great. That's cerebral. That's putting a package together where you're not just tough, you're smart. He was being smart. And I appreciated the hell out of it. I tweeted about it because I didn't hear nobody giving him credit for it. And again, that's what made it a fight. And finally, the end came in the way that we described it, that he got caught that punch on the inside, and, that was that. But the other thing that both guys were battling all night that I loved, they were battling the war of geography. Who's going to get the geography that they need? Charlo battled it to keep separation. That was his geography for the most part, even though he did win on the inside at the end with that punch, that perfect punch that he never saw, that Castano never saw. But the fight for turf was really nice to watch, where Charlo's looking for the turf outside, Castano the turf on the inside. It was really a well fought fight. It was really appreciated, because a lot of times these guys, like I said before, that are with the big promoters like Heyman, whoever, Aram, Hearn, whatever, they're fishing from their own pond, and you never see really a struggle. You never see the pole get bent back. You never see them get strapped in their seat and have to, really fight to get that fish on the boat. You never see what you saw in Jaws, where the captain turns around and says, "We're going to need a bigger boat." That's what I want to see. I want to see in a fight where somebody turns around and says, or if they don't say it, they're thinking, "We're going to need a bigger boat." And you see the size of that fish come by, and that's what I'm going after, and that's what you had. It was terrific. I want to see more of it. What, am I wrong? Am I wrong, Ken? Am I greedy? Am I selfish? Maybe a little bit. But I want to see more of that. When you got these guys with the kingmakers in this business, the top promoters, yeah, I know they're going to get taken care of. I get it. I know they're going to get, curbside, treatment. They're gonna, you're gonna have everybody in the hotel running down and they're grabbing their bags, pulling them in. You're gonna, as I said, you're gonna get curbside check-in, right? You're gonna get all that. I get it, but I want to see once in a while. I want to see them fish in the ocean. I want to see the Charlos fish in the ocean. And I'm not picking on them. All of them, whoever they are, all these guys that we're describing, and the fans are with me. I know they are. Because we speak for the fans. We speak for the fans. Where I hear them. I hear them loud and clear. Because they're us. They're us. It's no different what they want. They don't want to see a movie that they've seen 20 times. They don't want to see that. They know the ending. They know the middle. They know the beginning. They know all of it. They want to see a movie where they don't know the ending.
But to your point, the heavier Charlo at 160, Jermell, he's fighting Selecki on June 18th.
Yeah. Well, we know who's going to win that.
Newsflash. The guy's not even ranked in the top 10. No one is looking for that. Put him in with one of the other belt holders. You got Triple G up there.
Selecki is already, listen, Selecki, I like him. I like his style. He's already lost at the next level, so likely he's not going to get to a place where now all of a sudden he can win at this level. But he's an exciting guy.
And the fight's in Houston, in Charlo's backyard. He's going to get destroyed.
He's an exciting guy. He's a style that he's going to come forward, but that's going to be, part of his to his detriment too. I
was going to say, by exciting, you mean he's going to walk right forward and take the exactly what they have planned for him, a vicious knockout.
He's going to be a co-conspirator to his own demise, but he can't help that because that's the style.
I don't blame Selecki.
And then it'll be fun to watch for a minute, and whatever. But at the end of the day, again, to my point, you're back fishing in the ponds again. I want the ocean. I want the 80s. Where they went out there and they were in the Atlantic and in the Pacific and all these great bodies of water where you never knew what was in there until that night you watched. And then all of a sudden you said, whoa, I didn't know there was a whale in there. I didn't know there was, that's where the Loch Ness Monster existed. I had no idea. And he suddenly appeared because
All of a sudden, they got an orca on the line.
Because you're in the ocean. You can get orcas in the ocean. You can't get them in the ponds. You can't get them in the ponds unless you're doing some, some freaky experimental stuff and you're feeding them some stuff that, is glows in the dark a little bit. And then all of a sudden one day somebody says, I was walking by the pond the other day and I saw something. I only saw a glimpse of it. But it had, oh my goodness, it had a fin and a tail, and then boom, it jumped underneath the water before I could really get my flashlight out, before I could get a good look at it. But
just after it started breathing fire.
But there's something in there. There's something in there. And then every once in a while.
And his name is Jaime Munguia.
And his name is Castano, for that night. But it was what boxing needs. They need an underdog to fight a great fight. They need one of the privileged guys, one of the protected guys, one of the talented guys. I think that's all fair to say about Charlo. I'm not one of the guys that's with the Kingmakers. One of the guys who's got the great deal where he is on network, where he is on a big cable network fighting, where you could have that visibility. You want to see those guys in those kind of fights. You want to see that. You want to have hope. You want to have hope. Really, as a fan, you want to have hope that this will be the night something special will happen, that I'll be surprised, that I will get taught. What do you mean, Teddy? What do you mean going to get taught? I will get taught. Boxing teaches me every once in a while that no matter where you've been, no matter what you come from, no matter what you didn't get credit for in your life, whatever went bad for you, on one given night, if you're determined enough, if you're prepared enough, if you want it enough, you could be champion of the world. You could get your hand raised. You could do something that nobody thought you could do. You could do something very special that you could show people. You could teach them that there's something inside of all of us. And on one given night, it comes out. And you surprise everybody. Everyone who thought you could never be that one. You could never be that guy. And you become that guy. It teaches people. It teaches them to have that hope, to have that faith, to have that drive, to have that belief. They can be that guy.
Perfectly said. And if for the fans out there listening, if you like the description Teddy just gave, I can't recommend his audiobook enough. Please check it out. Here it is. Atlas, From the Streets to the Ring, A Son Struggled to Become a Man. There it is, available on Amazon, also an audio version on audible.com. And Teddy, when you were talking about Ennis looking so big, all I could think was, there's no doubt that Boots Ennis takes all his supplements and eats a healthy, balanced diet, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a power user of athletic greens like you and I are. Again,
I wouldn't be either.
Again, I did another race yesterday. Was lucky enough to come up with the victory.
Oh, beautiful! What race was it? What race was it?
That was the highway, the driveway to hell. That was the driveway to hell.
How many races in a race like that? How many competitors?
There were. This one was small, 200 people.
That's a lot. That's all right. I mean, usually you're in the thousands, but 200. Yeah. And was it? I mean, what kind of competition from all over?
It was, all over the world came in. It was, 13, just over a half marathon, 3,000 feet of elevation gain, up and down, up and down. The downhills are actually, I think, harder than the uphills because it beats the crap out of your legs. By the end of the race, I mean, I was as sore as I could possibly be, sorer than a marathon. But you can bet your behind that before that race, I took my athletic greens. I never skip a day of athletic greens made with 75 whole food sourced ingredients. Athletic greens has everything you need from vitamins, minerals. I try to eat a balanced diet, but when I'm on the road in particular, I always make sure I take this because if nothing else, it's an insurance policy to make sure I'm getting the essentials that I need. If you go to athleticgreens.com and use the promo code ATLAS, Teddy and I have asked them to give you a special deal. 10 free travel packs so you can travel with Athletic Greens. With your first purchase, 10 free travel packs, athleticgreens.com. Use the promo code ATLAS. Tell them we sent you and let us know what you think. We love getting the feedback from people. I bump into people all the time and they tell me, oh, hey, I'm on the Athletic Greens. Thanks for recommending it. I just won an Olympic gold medal, all thanks to Athletic Greens. I'm just kidding. No one has said that yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Congratulations again, Ken. I didn't even know that. I mean, you're busy. You got a busy schedule. I mean, do you? Wow. I mean, if you're not doing this, you're out on the road winning races, or you're preparing for the races. You know, running 10 miles a day. I
gotta stay busy it's as much for my mental health as it is for my physical health. When like idle mind is the devil's workshop. When I'm not doing things, I make bad decisions that aren't good for me or my family. So I try to stay busy, and I'm lucky that my wife and kids understand that this is part of who I am and they support what I do because I try to give them like the best life that I can give them when I'm not doing this stuff. But if I don't have my mental health, by getting this exercise in and this competition out of my system, it's just I'm not the best version of myself.
Well, it's great you can do it. You have the family to support you, and you're getting the attention now. You're getting the credit. You're getting
yes.
recognition. Recognition is important. You're getting that now, and I'll tell you, it's great. One last question about that particular race. So you got 200 over 200. You got them from all around. What was the time? And tell me, because I know the time you're around 2:30, which is amazing for a marathon. I understand sometimes even less. But what would be the time for a half a marathon? That is, and where does that fit? So I just want to understand.
So my best half marathon time, I ran Nashville last year, and for the people out there that are really interested in running, I've run a faster race every single year for the last 15 years as I've gotten older, from 35 to 51. And last year at the end of November, I ran the Nashville half marathon in 1 hour and 10 minutes, 5:22 per mile pace. I came in second overall there. A 27-year-old professional runner beat me by 30 seconds. Yes, and then I ran a 1:11 at the U.S. National Championships last Saturday in Indianapolis. And then this Sunday, I ran that driveway to hell race, which is 3,000 feet is an insane amount of elevation gain. The Boston Marathon and New York Marathons, which are considered very difficult, have 800 total over 26 miles. The race yesterday had 3,000 feet over 13 point. This was a little bit longer than a half marathon. It was 13.7, but I did it in 1 hour and 46 minutes. So like 7:40 per mile, which it doesn't sound super fast, but again, it's like straight up and down a hill.
Yeah, it's extreme.
Yeah, extreme.
I mean, it's like for the people out there that if you need to, not that they need it simplified by me, but if you're on a treadmill and you put it up elevation, and now you're running on elevation of 10.
The steepest part was at 20% grade. So if you put your treadmill on like 1.5, crank it up to 20% if it can even go that high. And I'm not trying to be funny. Treadmills don't typically go that high. That's how high the steepest point of this driveway was. And the other thing I want to say is I had my 36 collection, Box Raw 36 collection shorts on when I went down there warming up, just with the basketball shorts that those guys made for you. And everyone was like, what's the 36 mean? Where'd you get those? So for everyone listening, check out boxraw.com. Go to the Teddy Atlas collection, the 36 collection, which signifies 36 minutes to make life fair, which is one of the things Teddy was just talking about. When anytime you get an underdog in there, regardless of, not to steal Teddy's thunder, but regardless of anything that's happened to you in your life, When you get in the ring on that night, you got 36 minutes to make life fair, and no one else can interfere with it, and no one else can control your actions except you. So check out the BoxRaw.com Teddy Atlas collection. Let's jump into the UFC. They never disappoint. I mean, the worst card the UFC ever put on is still an exciting night. Typically only the pay-per-view cards. Typically I've never seen a pay-per-view card that's disappointing in the UFC. You have some lame duck fights here and there. It's unfortunate, but you've also got a different sport there where one mistake and you're sleeping or choked unconscious, and it happens. And we saw one last week with Rose and Carlos Baza, but all action fight for 2+ rounds in the main event, but unfortunately for Rakic, he suffered a freak knee injury. It looked like he either dislocated his knee, tore his ACL, but his knee just buckled underneath him. Official word is a TKO victory for Blachowicz, but up to the injury, like I said, all action. How'd you like that one?
For me, my take on it, first of all, you got to give special admiration to all these guys, but to Blachowicz, he's 39 years old. He's on the doorstep of 40. He looked great physically. I mean, you talk about athletic greens. He looks like he's dipping at that stuff. He looked really good. Obviously, part of it I'm talking about because Rakic looked great too, but he's almost 10 years younger. But for a guy almost 40, he looked really good. And he's a load. It was a well-matched fight. That's another thing. I like to give credit to the matchmaker over there at UFC. It's so important to have a good matchmaker to put the right styles in. It was a well-matched fight, and I found it to be a grueling, strategic fight. And I'll explain myself. To me, it was kind of like a war, because they are at war, right? And it's kind of like a battle in a war where you're coming in and both sides know that they want to take the infrastructure out of the other side. So they're dropping bombs on tunnels, on bridges, all infrastructure stuff to make it hard for each side to travel. I think that's a fair way to say it. Where you cut off their supply chains, you cut off their ability, to move. And they were attacking savagely to the legs, both of them. And that's what they were doing. That's how I look. I look at everything like war. They were dropping bombs, getting rid of the bridges, getting rid of the tunnels, getting rid of the roads where they would not be able, to get to the supply lines. They would not be able to move freely. And that was the strategy. And like I said, it was a wicked strategy. It was a grueling strategy. And I'm watching that. And then I see the different dimensions. I see the striking for the most part. And then I see Rakic gets Blachowicz on the floor where he spends most of the round. He wins the round. He has control, position. And then towards the end, he gets in great position, which I really appreciated from my standpoint of my sport, where he's sitting up on the floor on top of him, and he's throwing short little inside punches, Ken. Really shortened them up, like little Joe Louis punches, Rakic. He's throwing these little tight punches inside. That takes teaching. That takes, technique. That takes learning. And I really appreciate it. I said, wow, this guy looks like a fighter on the inside, throwing these little short shots with the little bit of room that he has, like in a phone booth. And then they get back to the striking for the next round. I felt that, and I tweeted this, I felt that Blachowicz must have saw something on film, on tape, when he was preparing for Rakic, where something told him that a left hook, a very specific combination, a left hook to the body and a right hand up top could catch Rakic. So he must have saw some proof of that in his reconnaissance mission. You know, when you fly the spy planes over the area, right, before you go and attack. So you see what's there, right? You see where the fusillades are. You see where the infantry is placed. You know, you see where they're obviously the silos for their weapons are kept. Because you want to destroy those areas. And he must have seen something, because all night long, Blachowicz kept with that left hook to the body, right hand to the head. Never landed it the way he wanted to, but man, he stayed on it. And to my point of it being a savage, relentless, strategic, grueling battle, you know, on the ground, on striking, where, you know, they were bombing out the infrastructures. To that point, maybe that had a bearing on the end, because suddenly it ended in a very unfortunate way, a way that we all always hope it doesn't end, but it's always a possibility in this tough sport they're in. Beyond tough. But it's always possible, and with the legs, and because they use everything. They hit everything. And he steps back, Rakic. He takes his step back, and his right knee, it looked like it was, I mean, I'm not a doctor, and we'll have to get the reports on that. What, by now, I'm sure it's been, you know, treated and diagnosed for what it is. But it looked like it looked like the knee went out of place. It looked like
like a dislocated knee or something.
Yeah, it looked like a dislocation where you could see the knee. You could literally see the knee shift, and then his leg collapsed. It was the right leg, if my memory's right. And then
that's right.
And then he collapsed. And boy, oh boy, two savages, but two gentlemen, two good human beings. I mean, to show the class and the sportsmanship, because right there, he could have attacked, jumped on him, Blachowicz. He didn't. He stopped. He, you know, before the referee got in there, he could have just went pounding away, not being sure how severe the leg was. Maybe the leg's going to be okay, and then he doesn't take advantage of the opportunity. He loses the fight. So he goes to, and then he stops. He sees the guy's in that kind of distress. He can't properly, you know, defend himself, and he shows that class, that sportsmanship that most of boxers do too, and these UFC guys do, and it never ceases to amaze or impress me. Never. How special they are in those areas of their character. So it was very unfortunate, and just like that, the fight's over. You know, and again, my thought was it's one of those freaky things, so you never know when it's going to happen. You never know exactly why. He steps back, boom, and it just collapses. The wrong step, he hits his heel the wrong way, his toe the wrong way, the foot lays the wrong way, whatever. Boom, it collapses. But it made me also think, Ken, that all that attacking to the legs and all the pressure being put on the infrastructure, like I was describing before, like a war, if that had something to do with it, if that played a role in the pressure that was put on that leg. But at the end of the day, Rakic, hopefully he heals up as quick as possible and he gets back 100%. I hope so. And it leaves for an interesting time right now in that division, Ken. You know, what's next for that division at the top? You know, is it a rematch with Blachowicz and Teixeira? You know, who's a monster and who's 40 years old. So they're both up in that area of, you know, that club, that 40-year club. You know, they could be the George Foremans there for the UFC. You know, that life's not over. after 40, after the 30s. Life's not over. Yeah, it's just beginning. They could be part of that great George Foreman club with bringing hope to the people in those age groups where sometimes they think that their best is gone. These guys are still at their best. So does it bring up a rematch where obviously Teixeira just kind of barnstormed, blitzed Blachowicz? I don't think it was the best Blachowicz. I said that at the time. There was something wrong. I'm not taking nothing away from Teixeira because he's a monster. He is. And he deserves every bit of the glory and, everything that he achieved that night, that the title brought him, every bit of it, and more. He deserves. He's been around fighting everybody. But it just, something, I don't know, there was a dimness. That's the best way I could describe it. There was almost like when you look into somebody's house and the lights are dim, they're not bright. It was like something in his eyes. It was almost a dimness in Blachowicz's eyes. And again, Teixeira don't know nothing about that. He went in there. He's a monster. He did what he had to do. He did what he's done in the past. So I'm thinking about that division. What's in store? Anthony Smith, Lionheart. He fits in there. This is a guy that obviously he's been around, Anthony. He's fought everybody. And he's still there. Not only still there, he's, like I said, he's fought everyone. He's got plenty of miles on the odometer. But he reminds me of a vintage wine, like you have in your wine cellar, where Ken, he just gets better. Like his last performance, Anthony Smith, it's like, wow, this guy is like revigorated. I mean, so I think it's interesting at the top of that division. Well, Teddy, what happens?
Here's what I was going to tell you. You just had one fight 3, right? Blachowicz is the number 1 contender. He fought Rakic number 3. And guess who? With that being said, if one just fought 3, who do you think the champion's fighting? He's fighting number 2, Yuri Prochazka on June 11th. And you got Lionheart, Anthony Smith waiting in the wings at number 5. So all these top guys are in the mix. That's what you got to love about the UFC.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, we always say, look, Dana has an advantage. He's the boss. He has the final word. But he keeps the guys busy. The top guys fight the top guys. You're not going to see like Jermell Charlo. Like I said, he's fighting a guy ranked outside of the top 10. I don't even know what that does besides keep him busy. In the UFC, there's no stay busy fights. You beat the number 1 contender, guess what? 6 months later, 3 months later, the new number 1 contender is waiting for you in the other locker room. It doesn't stop. And, if you're in the UFC, maybe your career's not as long, but you're fighting a lot more often and in the prime of your career. And there's just so many things to be excited about with the UFC. It's always action. So, yeah. Hopefully love to see Anthony. And for people who don't know, we love to see Anthony Smith get a shot. Go back and look. We interviewed Anthony Smith and Chael Sonnen, 2 for 1, 2 of the best guys there in the UFC in terms of commentators for sure. And obviously Anthony is a killer in the octagon, and Chael was. But yeah, we had those guys on, and look forward to seeing Anthony and all those guys in action. I was just, as I was listing all those names, I was like, you know something? Every single one of these guys seems to be a quality human. We know some of them, and they are excellent people. I know Glover Teixeira. We obviously know Anthony Smith. But these guys are genuinely nice guys, and it's good to see good things happen to good people.
100%, Ken. 100%.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to touch on, Teddy, before we sign off, is just follow up on that Oscar tweeting about, Canelo waiting to come back to, if he's ready to come back. To your point, yeah, he's full of crap in that he would do something different for Canelo. He, like you said, he'd put him in there with an axe murderer if he thought he could have a payday. But when he's with someone else, or he could affect, who the judges are.
He's like Bob Arum. Bob Arum, you got to. He's got to give you some chuckles, don't he? Like he'll say the guy's the greatest thing since sliced bread when he's with him, right? Oh, he's the great. I don't think I've ever seen anyone better in my 70 years. And then he leaves him. No, this guy's. This guy's not too
If
good.
you need an example, see Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
he's a free agent. All of a sudden, he's not that good. He's not that exciting.
You need a polygraph attached to these guys every time they talk. No, but to get to that, we touched on it at the beginning with Oscar making that comment. Again, I use different movie references. He gave me two to use. I have to use them. I'm sorry. One of them is the comedian. He's very, very successful now. Sebastian, what is it, Maniscalco?
Maniscalco?
Yeah, Sebastian Maniscalco. He's really funny. And he's got this skit where he says, and this would have fit right in when Oscar sent out that tweet, you want to come to the best promoter. He says, aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you?
It's like his catchphrase.
Yeah, because it's begging. It's begging. It is. Any way you want to chalk it up, you could chalk it up any way. You could twist it around. You could, position it any. It's begging, and it's like, aren't you embarrassed? I mean, so I know Rob's going to get that up. People get a couple chuckles out of that, and then the other one is from the iconic movie that's become one of those movies. What do they call them? It's not just almost a cult movie, but Scarface with Al Pacino, where remember that scene where Frank, who was the big boss at the time, and that Pacino worked under, tried to get him assassinated in the club earlier, but Tony Montana realized what happened, so he went to visit him. He went to pay him a little visit late at night, and he came in his club. His arm was in a sling, Pacino Montana, and he came in there, and he made him admit that he tried to get him killed, and to kill him, and he pulled the gun on him, and then Frank, the drug dealer, who was about to no longer be a drug dealer. He was no longer about to be anything.
Or a club owner.
Or a club owner. or a guy that took breaths anymore. He got on his knees, and he started crying and begging and kissing his feet and crawling, please. Montana was like repulsed. He jumped, get out of this is disgusting. Get out of here. And he was crawling. Come on, really. That fits in. I hate to say it, but that fits in.
We need like a Photoshop expert to Photoshop Oscar's face on Frank's body in that scene. Like, really? Please, Canelo, please, I'll do anything.
Exactly. Like he's crawling and please, no, please, no.
Don't go with Eddie Hearn. I'm better than him.
Don't go with Eddie. Don't. No. So I think I'm sorry, but I think it fit perfect. He gave me another one, Oscar. Get somebody out there, get him a rescue dog. Really, you're doing a favor I held back. You heard me held back. I was about to say you're doing a favor for the dog. I caught myself there. There, Ken. I'm not sure.
Hey. One other thing that we didn't have on the schedule, but I wanted to get your thoughts on. There's a fight this weekend. David Benavidez is fighting David Lemieux. I hope that they have medical staff on standby for this one, because I don't think this ends well for Lemieux. We haven't prepped for this, and I know you like to get like 30 pages of notes for each one we talk about. But off the top of your head, any thoughts on this Benavidez-Lemieux fight?
Yeah, it should be one-sided, but it'll be action because Lemieux only knows one direction, forward. He's strong, he's a good puncher, but he's got a lot of miles on him, and he's been in there with everybody, and he loses at the top, but he gives a battle. He's a proud guy.
And Benavidez is there to get hit at times. I'm wondering if Lemieux has enough power.
Well, he does have power. Lemieux, one thing he can do, he's tough. He comes forward. He's got power, but he's been used up a little bit. He's shot one, and he's one-dimensional. And Benavidez is tall. He's got that skeleton. He's got that reach, that frame where he can fight inside, but he can fight outside. He can catch you before you get to him. He can control that space. He can do what I talk about a lot of times. He can force you to come to him and go through a bad neighborhood to get to him and mug you on the way as you're trying to get to him. I see it. This is a little unusual, but I'm going to put up a prediction. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. All right, so what? I'm going to put up a prediction that at the end, there's going to be action, some action, and then at the end, Benavidez is going to finish him with an uppercut, because that would be a punch that would make sense in this fight. Lemieux a little shorter. He likes to crouch a little bit. He likes to move his head, bend forward a little bit as he comes to you. I could see the uppercut being the perfect punch to end the night for Benavidez to get it. To get a knockout win. So I'll leave it at that. That's the way I see it. But again, I can only see one guy, winning this fight, and that one guy would be the guy that's obviously got more going for him at this point in his career, and that you would think, maybe no, not just think, that his people, Benavidez' people, matched him up perfectly, with a style that can make him look good.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's all we got in terms of this week. So we got Benavidez in a UFC fight next week, and so yeah, maybe we'll try and work in an interview next week and see what else is going on. But quick personal note: shout out to my friend and super boxing fan, Jelly Roll, a country music singer rapper, is playing at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee on December 9th. So if you're a fan of Jelly Roll, and he's a big fan of boxing, and the guy's just been on a one-way ride here to the top. He's got the #1 song in rock and roll and country. Super nice guy, one of my neighbors, one of my best pals in Nashville. Go check out Jelly Roll December 9th at the Bridgestone Arena. He's such a good person, and I love to see him.
Hey, you're nice enough to have talked earlier about my foundation, and you and Rob were good enough, and you brought some people there to our dinner the last couple of years to help us do what we do, which is help people. And I appreciate the hell out of you for doing that and for being those people, and that's part of the reason why I do this with you, because of the character there. We're always looking for things that we can auction off. How about giving it a little thought? This be a big one, though. This be a real big one. How about giving just a little thought to auctioning off your ever-growing Rolodex at my dinner? But with some of those names that are in there, I mean,
I got one for you. How about we auction off 2 top of the line best seats available to see Jelly Roll December 9th at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. We should make it available online, not just to the dinner, so that we can have people in Nashville that might not be able to make the dinner, but can also come to the dinner. And to my man Jelly Beans, if you're listening, let's fire up the private jet and go up to New York together to Teddy's benefit dinner beautiful. And see if we can't get some of the Jelly Roll fans. I know
Ken keeps his Rolodex, and a lot of people that want their privacy keep their privacy. That works out perfect. Thank you. That would be.
And I know Jelly Roll ain't going to be playing a concert on some random Thursday in November. What is it? The Thursday before Thanksgiving?
Yeah, always the Thursday before Thanksgiving, to remind people of how much they have to be thankful for, and that there's people out there that unfortunately don't have much to be thankful for, but we can help them. So that would be great.
Yes.
Jelly Beans, Jelly Roll.
If he can do it, Jelly Roll.
I'm sorry.
If he can, Jason, his name is Jason DeFord, salt of the earth, one of the nicest guys. And if I asked this guy to come help me bury a body because I had to kill someone, he'd be the first one. Ken, be right over. Okay. He's just a great guy. And if he can make it, I'm going to tell him the pressure's on. So, Jason, if you're listening, put it in the schedule. He's touring like a lunatic, but he loves you. He loves the show, and man, he is a boxing super fan. Friends with Caleb Plant and all the Nashville fighters, Michael Chandler, all of them. Actually, Michael Chandler's the guy that's due to be on the show. He's been obviously coming off a huge win over Tony Ferguson. Would love to talk to Michael on the show if he's available next week. But with that, Teddy. And also, if you want to learn some boxing fundamentals in the comfort of your own home, if going to a boxing gym intimidates frustrates you, learn the basics at home with Dynamic Striking. Go check out Dynamic Strike and search for Teddy Atlas, and you'll see a whole series of videos that Teddy has produced for the guys at Dynamic Striking, going over all the fundamentals, the 11 different jabs, hooks, uppercuts. You can learn it all from the comfort of your own home. Then when you get it all finalized, head down to the boxing gym and put it into action.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks for being with us. Please subscribe to the show. Follow us on all the social media channels. Teddy's always got an entertaining take on Twitter, that's for sure. And we appreciate the heck out of everyone for being with us this week. Everyone, have a great week.